Okay, so here are our notes on gravity, which we're going to use tomorrow and for the rest of the week. I just want to remind you, you have a test coming up on Tuesday. The study guide will be up by tomorrow evening. So before we get started, just some reminders. I know we haven't done one of these in a while, so just reminding you, you can pause and rewind anytime you want. Please write down all highlighted vocabulary, and remember, after a screencast, there's always a quiz, and as long as you do these notes and they're complete and I check them, you can use them on the quiz. So we have this thing called the law of universal gravitation. And Isaac Newton came up with it, same person that did the 3 laws, and it says the force of gravity acts between all objects that have mass. So any 2 objects that would have mass, like a table and a basketball, or the earth and you, or the floor and your feet, would have gravity because they both have mass, so they have gravity. And gravity is the force that pulls objects toward each other. You won't notice the attraction between the smaller objects because compared to the one that you're experiencing from the earth, the force is extremely small. And there are 2 factors that affect gravity. The first is mass. The more mass an object has, the more gravitational force between it and other objects. And this makes sense because the earth is so big, it has significantly more mass, so the earth would have a whole bunch more gravity than, say, you, or a stool in my room, or a pencil. The second factor that affects gravity is distance. And the less distance between the objects, the greater the gravitational force. And the more distance, the less gravitational force. That's why Pluto, which takes a whole lot longer to orbit the sun than the Earth does, because the Earth is closer to the sun, and Pluto's further away. The last thing I want to make sure that we understand is the difference between weight and mass. And we're going to work on this either tomorrow or Wednesday in the lab, and they're often confused. So I want to remind you that mass is the amount of matter in an object, and weight is the effect of gravity on an object. Mass is not its weight. If something has more mass, it might not necessarily have the same weight as another object that has the same mass. So, for example, your mass is the same here and on the moon, but your weight on the moon is not the same, because you would weigh less on the moon as the moon has less gravity. And expect on your screencast quiz to have the question, why does the moon have less gravity? That's all I have.